Hello everybody, this is episode 12 of Wheel Trouble's Let's Play Battletech. We just got the Argo in the last episode, and this time we're going to go ahead and meet the new crewmates and see how the old crewmates are adjusting. So, this is the Argo. You can see our Leopard right there, and you can see holes in the ship. Yes, holes in my ship. Anyway, so the command center. Let's talk to Darius first.
I'm all ears, Commander.
Commander Trouble, I'm sorry about what happened on Weldry, with Sir Raju and all. If only we'd known. I'd have invaded the Directorate myself to get him back. But now it's too late. Now, this is one where we can actually read everything, so we're going to. You said that you knew Mastiff, that you fought by his side. I did have that privilege, yes. I didn't know him as well as you did, of course. But we were together in the trenches of the Faldier campaign. I raised the glass with Sir Raju in the canteen on more than one occasion. When you think of the old man, what jumps into your mind? Family. The old man was so damned proud of his family and heritage. There wasn't a drop of noble privilege in his veins, but the Montgomery name...
You got a minute? I need a diagnostic on a primary docking column. My heart is...
Anyway, but the Montgomery name carried weight. Hard as nails since the dawn of time, his father used to tell him. Those were his family words and his personal creed. I can personally attest to their accuracy. When we were fighting alongside the Royal Guard on the Faldier campaign, a pirate-driven hunchback managed to flank us. Decker was piloting a Locust at the time, and the bastard took its leg clean off. The Locust went down hard, and Decker blacked out. He was a dead man. There was nothing we could do to keep that hunchback from putting a foot through his cockpit, and it would have, if Mastiff hadn't come charging in with his Centurion. His first punch took the hunchback's main gun clean off. He was totally matter-of-fact about it. It wasn't even a desperate swing or a panic move. He just calmly put his fist into the pirate mech's weapon pod, grabbed it, wrenched it free of its moorings. It was like, I don't know, like watching a farmer uproot a tree stump, you know? Workmanlike. And all the while, we could hear the pilot over an open channel screaming and cursing as he desperately tried to fight back. The old man took that hunchback apart piece by piece. Imagine a veteran prizefighter locked in a cage with a snot-nosed kid, with no rules or referees in sight. He put on a clinic for everyone to see. The rest of the pirates broke rank and fled when they saw what had happened to their friend. Can't say I blame 'em. In their place, I'd have done the same. That was what the Montgomerys were. Warriors for as long as anyone could remember. Born to fight and tempered on the battlefield. And Sir Raju was the last. He never had any children, you know. The Montgomery line died with him. Did he ever show you that enormous knife he used to carry? The kukri? Yeah. Don't see too many of those outside the Free Worlds League. These days, kukri blades are mostly associated with the 4th Regulan Hussars. Not Mastiffs, though. He claimed that he'd inherited that curved blade beauty from his grandfather, who'd inherited it from his grandfather, and so on, all the way back to the family's origins on Terra. During the Faldier campaign, I saw him use that blade against a pirate twice his size, split the bastard's skull like a rotten cantaloupe. It was horrifying and beautiful all at once. You don't see that kind of skill every day. Thanks, let's see, I wonder what happened to that old blade of his. It wasn't with him on Weldry. The old man must have felt like he'd lost a piece of himself when the Directorate took it away. Thanks for the talk. Next time we're on shore leave, let's raise a glass to the old man's memory.
Yang? I'm seeing a huge energy surge in the mech bay. Everything okay in there?
Yeah, that was me. It's under control.
Oh dear. And the rest of this is just tutorial, so...
You know where to find me.
Let's talk to this new guy. Lord Alexander Madeira. Lady Kamea Arano's closest friend, and your restoration liaison aboard the Argo. Talking to Lord Madeira can provide additional insight into the Arano Restoration's campaign against the Directorate.
Yes.
Commander Trouble, welcome to my corner of the command center. From here, I can provide Mr. Oliveira with advice and information whenever he needs it. I want to be a resource for you as well. In keeping with my role as the Restoration Liaison, I will give you whatever additional information I can about our campaign moving forward. Come see me after any major operation and I'll share whatever I can. I'd like to discuss the state of our war against the Directorate. Now keep in mind this is, again, we're going to be able to probe into everything here. Things are going well enough, Commander. Our initial attack on Weldery was an enormous success, despite the psychological costs of what we discovered there. Still, the Directorate's atrocities have steeled our resolve. I've never seen Lady Arano so determined. Out of curiosity, Commander Trouble, what did you think of her speech? I recorded it, you know. The broadcasts are on their way to every corner of the Directorate space. This one I can only choose one. But I'm going to be kind of a dick about it and say what you're saying is you turned her speech into a PR stunt. So what you're saying is, insert meme here, I used it to control the narrative, Trouble. If I hadn't, Espinosa's propaganda apparatus most certainly would have. I can imagine the headlines now. Police and civil servants cut down by weapons of war. Dangerous convicts set loose by a traitor, endangering nobles and commoners alike. Better that the people of the Reach hear our version of events, don't you think? With luck, many of our people will believe what they've heard in our broadcasts over the Directorate's propaganda. One moment. Sorry, guys. We had a good storm last night and a bunch of things in bloom causing me to sneeze. Anyway, but I fear that Espinosa's hardline supporters will be far less eager to listen. But if we fail to turn them against the Directorate, we run the risk of an ongoing violence, even after we liberate their home systems. That's why messages like Kamea's speech are so important. Espinosa's supporters just saw the conditions on Weldery with their own eyes. You don't think that will be enough to sway them? Some will be moved by our message, yes, but others will continue to embrace the Directorate's lies. These are people who've benefited from Espinosa's policies. They won't jump to condemn a system that has lined their pockets with wealth, and they won't want to feel complicit in its crimes. Capturing their loyalty will be a long, hard battle. We won't win it overnight. If the Directorate is using propaganda, we need some of our own. Got it. Sadly, yes. If we're going to win this war, we need to rally the Aurigan people, including a percentage of Espinosa's supporters. They have to see that we're better than the Directorate again and again, until our message is impossible to ignore. For you, that means military victories. For me, it means more broadcasts, spin, and outreach. Public opinion is just another battlefield, and I'll be knee-deep in the trenches until the day I die. You're new on this crew, so tell me about yourself. I'd be happy to, but honestly, Commander, I've been so consumed with matters of war of late that I wouldn't even know where to begin. Tell me about who you were before Kamea's exile and the Restoration. Good place to start. A noble scion, much the same as you were, from what I understand. As a fellow noble, I'm sure that you already know more than most about my upbringing. It was a life of great privilege, and even greater expectations. I spent my early years invested in academic pursuits, the study of history, mathematics, and statecraft. I strove to excel at every subject, and anything to avoid disappointing my mother and father. The extent to which they would come to disappoint me is a cruel irony, but it's one that I've come to accept. What kind of expectations did you have to meet? Do you know House Madeira's motto? Behold our splendor. I had a familial obligation to live extravagantly, and to do so within the public eye, but I was also expected to develop my intellect. My life was a 50-50 split between carousing and academic study. In truth, it felt like I was leading two lives, and putting on a show in both. but I'll never complain about my upbringing. I have enjoyed advantages that most children of the periphery could only dream of. Must have been hard to have your own parents betray you. Oh, it is. Nothing could be harder. But when Kamea retakes her throne, there will be a reckoning, and Directorate collaborators will be tried for their crimes. My mother and father will be at the front of that list. And as terrible as it feels to say it, they deserve whatever punishment they receive. I'm sorry to hear it, Lord Madeira. Let's talk about something else. Tell me about Guldra. What kind of world is it? Oh, sorry. Your apologies are unnecessary. By any metric you care to mention, I've lived a charmed life. The hardships of the past 3 years don't erase a lifetime of privilege I enjoyed before the Espinosa's coup. It would be dishonest of me to pretend that they did. But still, I'm happy to change the subject if you wish. Tell me about Guldra. What kind of world is it? There we go. A truly beautiful one. You should really travel there sometime after all this is over and see it for yourself. Imagine lush, green lowlands giving way to mile upon mile of white sand coastlines, sandy beaches kissed by warm, salty seas, and soft rain perfumed with saffron and cardamom. And that's not to mention the wildlife. Close your eyes and imagine it, Commander. Shield terns wheeling and soaring, their brilliant plumage glittering in the sunlight, leviathan sablefish flashing silver beneath the waves, dolphinfish leaping, breaching the surface of the water in riotous streaks of yellow and green. Places like Guldra are special, Commander Trouble. They must be preserved. That is what we are fighting for.
The work you put in on that thrust controls really paid off. Steering is buttery smooth.
Anyway, that is what we are fighting for. Something unspoiled, and unique, and ours. Something that reminds us how good the periphery can be. Let's talk about something else. And that's pretty much it. I should go. We'll talk later, Lord Madeira.
Until next time.
Snob. Anyway, let's go ahead and visit Yang in the bays really quick. We need to get these repairs going. Was this one the one missing? No, this one just needs a quick repair. 1 day. Yeah, I can live with that. And then this one is the one that needs the refit. Replace the arms. Repair, 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 repair. You know... Huh. Sounds funny. Let's just strip it. Strip all equipment, max the armor, and let's start with some good support here for the infighting. Totally sidetracked. Totally didn't plan on doing this, but you know. We want to be able to pack a punch, right? Then, let's see. I'm starting to really favor the ballistics, so let's see what we can do here. You know, funny as it sounds, we really can't carry too much, so... AC-5s? AC-5 ammo, and then good God, we've got a lot of these mediums. Let's see, we can do the PPC's too heavy. These medium lasers should do the job though. What about these larges? 5 tons. I'll take some of the mediums. Okay, so that's 1, 2, and 3. That gives us a fairly rounded mech. Let's go ahead for the equipment. We'll pop in a heat sink or 2. Don't really need too much. The heat efficiency is not too terrible given what I want to do with it. There we go. That should keep me from falling apart. That's a fair amount of firepower, too. Just no jump jets. Alright. Confirm this one. A lot less squishy.
Right. I'll get it in the schedule.
Okay. Speaking of which, now let's talk to Yang.
Anything I can do?
Hey again, boss. What's up? How are you liking the new ship? I love it. She's a big old ship, Commander. This bucket can carry more tonnage than I know what to do with. And the mech bay? Man, that mech bay. Do you have any idea how tough it is to refit a mech on a Leopard? Other mech techs won't even try it. You've got no room to maneuver. No room to do anything. The odds of getting killed in some horrific industrial accident go right through the roof. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I like the new ship. I especially like the fact that it isn't my job to keep her flying anymore. I guess that puts Lady Arano in my good graces, which is rare for a wannabe Empress. Lord Madeira too. Hell, even Centrella. As long as they let us keep the Argo, they're all fine with me. And then the rest is back to that tutorial stuff. Which, as you can see, we've...
511. Expected approach time, 41.
As you can see, we've gone through.
Acknowledged. Approach time 41.
Anyway, we'll let Yang
I'll be
get back
here
to
if
his
you
work.
need anything.
Engineering.
Yeah, boss?
Commander Trouble, what can I do for you? Patching up the Argo must have been an enormous job. How do you do it? Oh, it wasn't just me. I had a team working under me. Over 200 of Lyritan's most accomplished engineers, electricians, and shipwrights. It was really pretty amazing, I've got to say. Shouting through a megaphone at a team of hundreds.
Darius, we've got a couple of blackout drunk neck warriors stumbling around in hydroponics. I'd suggest you take care of it before they break something. Yeah, all right, I'm on it.
Anyway, it was really pretty amazing, I've got to say. Shouting through a megaphone at a team of hundreds, watching them hang on my every word. How much did Lady Arano pay for all that? Oh, it wasn't Lady Arano. The payments came directly from House Centrella. That was a figure of speech. They were indirect payments, of course, routed through countless intermediaries to obscure where the money was coming from, but yeah, the Centrellas paid for it. Now, as to how much the Centrellas paid, honestly have no idea. I'm sure the figure was astronomical, but still cheaper than getting dragged into an unwanted war, eh? A Canadian Muslim? Meh. If this ship turns out to be as important as Lady Arano thinks it will, then it was money well spent. Have you ever managed a team that big before? Never in my wildest dreams. Prior to my time on the Lyritan shipyard, the biggest team I'd ever managed was the crew I had with me on Axilus, and they all got killed. This job went a lot better than that one did, by the way. Only 3 deaths across the entire project, and before you ask, none of them was my fault. That doesn't make me feel better. There was an accident with one of the industrial cranes, and, well, it was horrible. I pray for their souls. That went off the rails in a pretty big way, didn't it? Sorry about that. I guess I'm in a little bit of shock from our time on Axilus. I'm having a hard time getting what I saw there out of my mind, but that's neither here nor there. We were talking about the ship. Is there something else you'd like to know? Yeah, let's talk about something else, because there's a lot to talk about here. I have, of course, Commander.
All mech techs to the mech lab. I repeat, all mech techs to the mech lab.
Let's see. I have some questions for you about the ship. Yes, Commander, of course. Ask me whatever you'd like. What can you tell me about the Argo? A fair amount, Commander. I've been researching this ship for several months. Boeing Interstellar produced just 2 of these beauties back in 2762. They were intended to follow behind the first wave of exploratory missions, supporting multiple surveyor, terraformer, and colonizer teams on deep survey missions. Although she's far too large to land on a planet,
This is an all-ship announcement. At our next port of call, we'll be taking on a new decade. If you're up for shore leave, keep your eyes open for potential candidates.
okay. Anyway, her docking collar system allows for smaller dropships like your Leopard to come along for the ride. The Argo is a mobile space station in a sense, providing supply and temporary habitation for teams on dangerous missions in unsettled space. Exploration vessel or no, she sounds ideal for our purposes. That's a good way to start, because again, this is one we can actually click just about everything. She is, and with 57,000 tons of cargo space, she has all the room we need for supplies.
Secure all loose gear about the Battletech.
Spare equipment, personnel, you name it. In fact, her hold is so vast, we'll have no trouble storing as many mechs and mech chassis and partial mech salvage as you can get your hands on. Why don't we see more ships like the Argo out here? The Argo is a product of her era. She lacks the armor or maneuverability to function in battle, and she's vastly outclassed in size and firepower by even the smallest warships. She's a peacetime ship meant for peacetime exploration duties, and planned with a focus on long-term orbital deployment. It was her non-combat design that ultimately led to her abandonment. And we're using her as a combat ship for a mercenary crew. That makes sense. In an earlier era, she might have seen widespread usage, but the fall of the Star League and the near-constant state of war we've endured since then has rendered the Argo little more than a forgotten experimental footnote in the history of dropship production. Sad, really. In her own way, the Argo represents the back seat that science and exploration have taken in the pursuit of military goals. Let's talk about something else, like upgrading this thing. Because there's holes in my damned ship. Scotty, there's holes in my ship. Can the Argo be improved? From her current state, absolutely. In the Star League days, this ship was state-of-the-art. Now, she's a shell of her former glory. With time and sea bills, though, there are plenty of ways I can upgrade her. It's about increasing efficiency. As your executive officer Darius is so fond of saying, time is money. He says that a lot, you know. Tell me about systems and support upgrades. Systems and support upgrades are fundamental to returning the Argo to her former glory. They're foundational. I can do some basic upgrades to improve performance in a few areas, but without improvements to systems and support, you're limited in how far you can go with the upgrades. In addition to the foundational upgrades she requires, I can also upgrade the Argo's drive systems to improve her travel speed, and with some work, I can bring more of her habitat pods back online so you can hire more mech warriors and have a place for them to bunk. Tell me about combat and deployment upgrades. Combat and deployment upgrades come in 3 flavors: those that increase our mech bay capacity, those that improve mech repair and refit speed, and those that intensify mech warrior training. That's kind of important, actually. We'll get to that later. Increasing mech bay capacity means more battle mechs ready for immediate deployment. It takes time and sea bills to pull mech chassis out of storage and refit them with weapons and equipment. More mech bay capacity means less downtime. If your Lance gets banged up on a mission and needs weeks of repair time, you won't be able to take another contract unless you have mechs in reserve. Improving your repair and refit speed gets your battle mech out of the mech bay and back on the battlefield, where they can be earning us money. Yeah, but the more mechs I've got sitting out, the more money they're costing me, Dr. Murad. Finally, adding and upgrading mech warrior training simulators will allow your mech warriors to improve their skills and abilities during the inevitable downtime of interstellar space travel. Tell me about personnel and medical upgrades. Just like battle mechs, your mech warriors will need to be patched up from time to time.
This is an all-ship announcement. Our last port of call has fallen prey to a mysterious bacterial contagion. In light of this, I'm ordering all hands to the med bay for precautionary cycle antibiotics. No arguments, people. Just do it.
Upgrading the Argo's medical facilities means getting your people back to work quicker. Talk about timing. There's a display of our medical bay's efficiency in medical points on your travel display under finances and crew morale readouts. The higher the medical rating, the faster your mech warriors will heal. Blah. As far as the personnel improvements, well, I'd imagine they're obvious. Mech warriors need to relax and vent coolant between combat drops. If you don't give them a place to do that, they'll find ways to keep themselves entertained, like drinking in the hallways in the hydroponics bay. Sometimes to the detriment of the rest of the crew. Upgrading crew conditions on the Argo will have tangible benefits on the battlefield and make life quieter for for us on these long voyages. Can we upgrade more than one system at the same time? Sorry, Commander, no can do. The rule about one upgrade at a time. The rule is one upgrade at a time, and I wrote it for a reason. I'm the only one qualified to oversee this work, and if I spread myself too thin, bad things could happen. Extinction-level things. Well, for us at least. Alright, and she doesn't really talk about herself, so that's enough for now. Here we go. Now I can talk about her. If you're going to be part of this crew, I want a better sense of who you are. Tell me about yourself. Well, I'm an actual doctor, but not the medical kind. I hold 2 doctorates, one in physics and the other in mechanical engineering. And now I'm hauling around in a lost tech wonder with a crew of merry pirates, seeking my fortune. It's funny, the places life takes you. Okay, I've got the elevator pitch, now give me the long version. Yeah, sure, if you like. Let's see, where to begin? Well, I was born on Regulus, in the Free Worlds League. My parents were academics. I know, big surprise. And I spent most of my early years bouncing back and forth between their suburban apartment and the Ferdowsi. My Baba Junes live in dropship. Okay. Your Baba June? Who is that? Better yet, what is that? My grandfather. He'd carved out a nice little business for himself running a taxi service for pilgrims traveling to and from Dar es Salaam. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. What is this? Haven of Peace, the center of the Islamic faith in the Lyran Commonwealth. Okay, before any of you guys get triggered, I said this before.
There are personnel working outside the ship. Do not rotate, radiate, or energize any external electronic equipment.
Okay, anyway. Like I was saying, Earth still exists, and everything that's on Earth, that's the reason there's so much war and conflict and everything else. The one lovely thing about Battletech is it is very accepting in terms of everything exists in this universe. Everything. All the religions, all the little spy conspiracy things, everything you can imagine. So, it's not a surprise they're not doing this to virtue signal, although it somewhat could seem like it. They've done the same thing with the Draconis Combine, and House Liao and Kurita, that kind of thing, so no surprises here. As much as my father frowned on Baba June's old-fashioned lifestyle and beliefs, he wasn't blind to how much I loved the old man, and so he occasionally consented to let me board the Ferdowsi and go along for the ride. I will always cherish my memories of those voyages. The warmth behind Baba June's smile, the excitement of leaving Regulus behind, chatting with the pilgrims and getting lost in the stars, and eating prepackaged fasenjan out of a shiny tin. Those times are all crystal clear in my memory, as if they happened yesterday. Oh, how I miss that wonderful man. This may seem silly, coming from a mercenary engineer, but I've come to think of the life I've chosen as my way of honoring my Baba June. By carving my own path among the stars, I'm doing what I can to keep his memory alive. That sounds trite, I'm sure, but sue me, it's what I've chosen to believe. What about after you left home? Where did you study? I actually spent a little time in the Lyran Commonwealth before I pursued my studies. Long story, but suffice it to say that it was its own kind of learning experience. When I did decide to get a higher education, I wound back up in the Free Worlds League. I did my undergrad studies at the University of Atreus. and then went on to Cyan University in the Capellan Confederation to earn my doctorates. For a top 3 school with a Mastrovica screened admission process, Cyan U was surprisingly open to transfer students. Anyway, I could go on and on for hours about my academic career, and you'd probably smile and nod as I rambled. But, come on, I mean, this can't be interesting for you, can it? You're a mercenary. You stomp around in a giant robot for a living. The closest I got to adventure was back then was my dissertation defense. Okay, that's enough family history. I want to talk to you about something else. And have you always wanted to work as a shipboard engineer? No, not always. When I was 15, I wanted to be a statistician. You know, a nice, quiet life, alone in the ivory tower. That's what my personal dropship was going to be called. Preparing mathematical models and studying survey results. So yeah, you know, every girl's dream. Let's see. I guess. Didn't you ever want to do anything more, I don't know, exciting? Like being a mech warrior? No. As much as I love the idea of stomping around in a giant robot, I'm not huge on the whole murdering people with lasers thing. It doesn't really square with my personal beliefs. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy to work with mech warriors. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be here. But the actual firing of weapons, no, it isn't for me. You still seem pretty enthusiastic about it. Why didn't you follow through? Well, interests change. I mean, I like statistics, but it's really more of a hobby now. Is that weird? People have told me that it's weird. I don't know. Plotting graphs and forecasting future events calms me. It's like my own personal way of using math to bring order from chaos. And besides, everybody needs a hobby. I know for a fact that Darius crochets? Darius crochets. Okay, so what made you want to get into engineering? Uncle Heiner's Experiment World. Live-action STEM edutainment program from the Lyran Commonwealth. It started airing just after my 19th birthday. You may have seen it. It ran for 3 seasons before it was cancelled. The host was a tattooed, chain-smoking nihilist who taught children the magic of chemistry. You know, making thermite with aluminum cans and a belt sander. That kind of thing. Let's see. This one I don't actually get to choose. I get to kind of taunt in some way. And since I know about the universe, yeah, that sounds like a Lyran kids show, alright. The Lyran's version of a Scout Lance, which Scout Lances are normally light mechs, their version is a fleet of 100-ton assault mechs. It's kind of a joke. So yes, them overdoing everything and blowing things up, that's a Lyran thing. Yes, well, I wound up marrying the host. Look, it's a long story, but the important bit is, in the 6 months before the annulment, I learned that I had a real talent with machines. When Heiner blew out a power relay, or took a tire iron to the bandsaw, I was the one who could get it put back together again. I found a great deal of peace in that. From there, it was just a matter of getting into the right schools and following my bliss.
This is an all-ship announcement. As a reminder, pets are not allowed aboard the Argo. If you're out on shore leave and you see something fluffy, enjoy it there. In its native habitat. It doesn't belong on a dropship.
Hey, I got a doggy bed in my quarters, get over it. Just funny because I'm a cat person. Anyway, so that's what I did. And, well, here I am. It turned out alright for me, all things considered. Can we discuss something work-related? And that's really it. So, talk to her later.
See you later.
Then navigation, we've got Sumire, which I'm now saying right because the intercom corrected me.
Yes, Commander?
Commander Trouble, what's up? What do you think of the Argo? You gonna be able to fly this beast? And the rest is gonna be simple tutorial, so we may as well just go with this. She's different. Piloting her won't be a problem, but I can't say I'm happy about living on a piece of lost tech. Too many question marks for my taste. That said, I get the necessity. The Leopard is just too damned small. Okay, lost tech definition for you guys. Lost tech is a term referring to advanced technology from the Starleague era that can no longer be replicated with modern industrial base. Factories and research facilities were favorite targets in the early centuries of the Succession Wars, in efforts to deny weapons technology to one's enemies, but the result was an overall loss of technology for everyone. War sucks. Anyway, as long as we're able to restrain ourselves from pushing any mysterious buttons, we should be okay. That's what I keep telling myself anyway. And life aboard the Argo should continue to improve as Dr. Murad brings new sections of the ship online. So we've got that to look forward to. Let's see. This ship has potential, I'll give her that. Granted, before I actually take any more of Kamea's contracts, I'm actually going to try to upgrade the Argo completely. That's going to be my goal for this. So you guys will get to see me starting the upgrades and won't get to see anything else. So it was kind of important we went through all that. Yeah, and I can't wait to see how she develops over time. Personally, I'm rooting for a day spa. Might happen, Sumire. I like you. But I'm easy. Really? I'll take what I can get.
Commander?
And that's going to be it for this episode, guys. Thanks for tuning in for this one. And next time, it's going to be probably a bunch of snippets as I fly through the galaxy, and you get to see the adventures of my miscreant crew. Wheel Trouble out.